What's up, y'all? It's your boy Who274, and we back with another video. We got One Piece chapter. What this is? Chapter 1152. Um, we left off with some good shit last time. Good shit. Um, as far as anticipation goes, let me put that out because it really wasn't much action last last chapter, you feel me? So yeah, this chapter hopefully we can get into some shit, some good shit. I did see a little bit of the spoilers. So shit. Ain't no ain't no pump faking. I already know we gonna get into a little flashback with King Harold, XYZ and the third, woo woo woo. But I wanna see what's going on with the Straw Hats. We gonna see some more of Emu, or is this chapter gonna be fully dedicated to just flashback? Let's hop into it. Okay. So we start off this chapter with the Oni Child Yamato in the Holy Inari Shrine Pilgrimage Volume number 36. Delivery complete. Kawamatsu, the daimyo of Hikamai, receives Ultima's hat. Okay, so Yamato's completed another part of her motherfucking journey, shorty. She's still going. And like I said, I really think this is about her getting her little pirate crew together for on Chief. If you know Yamato and her inspiration to be a pirate, how she always wanted to go on the journey, but unlike Odin, who she thinks she is, you feel me? Unlike Odin, who wanted to go jump on other people's crew, she's starting her own journey, which seems like all the allies she's making along the way, that's a crew. That's a pirate crew. We already got Ulti in page one, who dedicated their allegiance to her, no different from how Zoro and Nami did when Luffy first started with them. All right, moving on. We're gonna flame up the blunt in a minute. I already know how it go. Y'all know. Kick back, relax, you feel me? Flame up and review with me. Review with me. That was a tongue twister. I'm gonna say that again. Kick back, relax, flame up, and review with me. You know, I already know if you ain't got no blunt of your own, feel free to hit mine as I put it to the screen. Other than that, no peer pressure. This is a channel for mature anime fans. If you are a child around this time, you should be leaving, or just don't do drugs, okay? Just don't do drugs. Don't be trying to hit my motherfucking weed when I put it to the screen. All right, so we started off with what seems to be we still are in the underworld right now, and it looks like there's some. Let me see. Okay, yeah, so it's still in the underworld, and it looks like there's some pressure. You know, the guys are out in a hurry to get back to the top. We see some bubbles, um, of somebody saying, "Let's hurry to the left." Um, Gerd will leave this sack of filth in your care. So I'm assuming they're talking about Loki, leaving Loki in Gerd's care. Gerd says, "Got it." Scroll down and we see, I keep forgetting folks' name. The fucking Lego castle dude, the fucking Lego castle giant. He's saying I shall dedicate all my might to this Gerd Tasso because he's a fucking simp and he's fiending for her. And one of the other giants says, Hyregen, move it. Let's get going. Hyruden. Then we go to Scopper Gaban, who is laying on the floor. Chopper is caring for him because in the last chapter, well, the chapter before last, we seen he got murked by Gunko right before she transformed to Emu. So Chopper is telling Luffy, he says, Luffy, I better stay too, Luffy. Your son's wounds are too severe. We can't move him yet. If you haven't been aware and you've been under the rock, cause I haven't been calling Scopper your son, but your son is the name that Scopper goes by on Elbaf. That's what everybody addresses him by. So whenever you hear your son, then, cause I'm reading verbatim off the manga page, just remember that's Scopper. Luffy says, got it, I'll leave it to you. And right before Luffy walks off, Scopper said, your son slash Scopper says, hey, Straw Hat, wait. He says, be mindful of the way you use your conqueror's hockey. Those guys are by no means immortal. Luffy says, thanks, you can count on me. I'll save those. He said, I'll save Colin and his friends no matter what. So, just like I heard in the spoilers, that's nothing new. The Holy Knights, they not immortal. Conqueror's hockey can hurt them. So we know that for sure. Loki, then we then pan off to Loki, who's now sitting up at least. You know, he got bandages all over his body and his eyes. Why are his eyes always covered at every moment? But he's still hooked up to IVs and shit, and at least he's sitting up now. But he says, Kaban, that's just made it click for me. I wasn't able to put into words before my own power. I'm the only one left who faced these knights before. I know I can beat them. Free me and take me with you, Hadruden. So Loki is putting it out in the air that he fought the Holy Knights before. When? I have no fucking clue. Probably when they killed his daddy. But he's saying, yeah, I got experience with them. Let me out. His brother ain't gonna go. Ha, Haruden, that's what I'm gonna call him. Haruden says you fighting for Elbath with a question mark. He says, like I ever take you with us. And then Gabon said there's another in your group who uses Conqueror hockey because we cut back to Luffy, Gabon, Chopper, Zoro, and Sanji. So Scopper Gabon is saying there's another in your group who uses Conqueror hockey because he was still talking to Luffy and he's looking over in Sanji and Zoro's direction. Sanji get thirsty as hell says, is it me? I knew it. He says, with how things were going, Mosshead and Jimbe's were about to usurp me. And then Gabon says, you there, swordsman. Didn't even pay Sanji no attention. You there, swordsman. Your body seems to be growing accustomed to it. And Zoro seems confused. Zoro says, I have Conqueror's Haki. How the fuck you ain't know you had Conqueror's Haki after everything you did against King? Luffy screams and said, what? You didn't know it's been oozing off you. And then Scopper says, how observed. Hockey is a power that must be understood and tamed. Zoro says, no. Then Scopper says, your captain is one of the four emperors. You should be, I don't know what the fuck he said, meticulous if you intend to have his back. Zoro says, my bad. I can't read that because the words so clusterfuck together. Then Sanji jumps right back in Scopper's face and says, hey, old man, what about me? And then we cut away to Loki screaming at his brother Harujin again, saying, Harujin, you're pathetic. You rather sit back and let these outsiders have our homeland. I'm right here. Use me. Yeah, Harujin is pathetic at this point, bro. You acting bitch made. And then Harujin screams back, who's to say you won't side with the government? You could easily stab Elbaf in the back again, just like just like you did on that day. How can you expect me to trust you? And he hurting Loki feelings every time he say that shit, cause Loki got snot running out his nose, for I could tell his feelings hurt. Folks know that ain't what's up. Somebody says, Hydrogen, hurry, we can't let these casualties pile up anymore. Luffy says, hey Loki, join my crew. If he does, then you can't complain if I free him, right, Hydrogen? Let's cut over so y'all could watch with me now. Zoro's looking appalled. He says, huh, get real, Luffy. There's no way, there's no way we fit him on the ship. And then Sanji says, yeah, think of these food supplies. He eats even more than you do. Luffy says Elbaf doesn't seem to want him, but he seems okay to me. Besides, if he tries anything, I can always beat him up. Loki screams at Luffy, says, don't mess with me, you grunt. There's no way I'm becoming your underling. Haru just says, you're going off your gut, huh, Straw Hat? Luffy says, I can't wait to see how he fights. Yeah, I can't wait to see how he fight neither. It's been a long time coming, bro. Like, how many chapters ago they don't introduce us to Loki, and he been bragging about his powers and shit, bro. I want to see how he fight, man. Come on. Give us the goods. Give us the good. One of the other giants says, Hydrogen, what are you doing? The lift's ready to go. Hydrogen says, I'm coming now. He says, sorry, Straw Hat Loki is a commended criminal in Elbaf. I can't just hand him over to you. Luffy says, really? Somebody screams out Hydrogen's name. Oh, it's Scopper. Scopper screams out Hydrogen's name. And he says, release Loki. Hydrogen says, what? Was that your son? And then he says, 14 years ago, Loki murdered 113 members of the Castle Guard. He left Elder Jarur at the brink of death, killed his own father in cold blood. He's the worst criminal our country's ever known. Gopper says, I know, but on that day, I felt a strange animation of hockey coming from outside the castle. Shanks and I were there. Shanks and I were there. Shanks and I went there to investigate. Looking back, it's impossible we didn't have the whole story. Howard just says you went to the castle. What the hell? And then Luffy. Every time he hears Shanks' name, he just go nuts. Wait, did you just say Shanks? So then Harajin tells the other giants go ahead without him. Luffy tells Zoro and Sanji he'll catch up in a bit. So they go off. So Zoro and Sanji go off with the other giants from Harajin's crew. And Harajin and Luffy stay behind to hear this story that Kaban telling. Zoro says this dumb Shanks thing again. Yeah, I feel you, folks, because every time he hears Shanks' name, folks just don't give a fuck about shit. Luffy says, hey, don't call Shanks dumb. And then Sanji says, he means you're the dumb one. So Loki, cut back to Loki and Gabon. Loki's looking at Gabon. Gabon says, Haruji, who else can get him talking? You may have had different mothers, but you're still brothers. And then Haruji says, you have 3 minutes to explain, Loki. Tell me what happened at the castle 14 years ago. If you truly consider yourself a warrior of Elbaf, swear on your gods that you will say what you will say is the truth. Loki says, that's cruel, brother. You really want me to relive that day. I don't want to remember. It was an awful day. Loki looks up in the sky. So then we cut over to 14 years ago, Elbath outside castle. So we see somebody screaming, Prince Loki has returned. Elder Jarura just arrived too. Okay. Loki and Ja Rule's walking to the castle. Loki said, and Ja Rule says he summoned you too, Loki. And then Loki says something like that. This is my family's home. You seem well, old man. You haven't grown sick of life yet. Elder Ja Rule says, quiet you. Somebody else, another smaller giant says, the king is in the audience chamber. Loki says, I wonder what he wants. It's hard to care about the whims of a government dog. Okay, so by this time, Ja Rule is already under the wraps of the government. That's why Loki is dissing him like that. So we do know that he is in cahoots with the government. Not Ja Rule, but his daddy. Loki's daddy. We know he is in allegiance with the government by this time already. In the flashback 14 years ago. So Loki then says he sold out to the people who killed rocks. If that's the direction Elbaf's heading, then I'll oppose it. Jarrell says you're being loud. I'm too old for this stuff. Politics is a young man's game. Loki says we're in this mess because you keep spouting that kind of nonsense. Now we've got a whole generation of peace adult brats who can't even hold a weapon. Ja Rule says that's a sign of times. It's nice to know that my great great grandchildren won't see combat. They want peace. Loki says, coward, it's your duty to whip them in shape. Ja Rule says, what's that sound? It's coming from the throne room. Loki says, thank you for coming, Elder Ja Rule. Somebody says, Loki, I mean, young master, it's a pleasure to have you back. Loki says, of course. Well, let me just consult with the king. Come on, fuck about all this shit. Somebody says, let me just consult with the king. Loki says he summoned me and this is my home. And then he kicks the guy into the door and says, open up, idiot. And then Loki, as the door falls down, says, oh man, I'm back. But then he is cut off because he sees what seems to be the king of Elbaf, his daddy, King Harold, being stabbed by all of his court guards. So that's why Loki killed 113 of them, because it's 113 of them stabbing his daddy. But it's just a silhouette of his daddy, and I'm not even gonna lie, it does seem like folks ass is in a demon form. Like it look like he got wings that are just down and not spread. So Loki and Ja Rule see that, and Ja Rule's like, Harold. Loki says, "What the hell are you doing?" So we cut over to the realm of the sun at Gabon's house. What a staggering view! This is the best. All right. So we see Gabon and Shanks taking a bath together. Shank Gabon says it's been a while since we've shared a bath. How long has it been? 3, maybe 4 years. Shank says Get real. It's been 10 years since the captain died. Gabon says that long, huh? That must feel like forever ago to you, huh? Shank says, yeah, life's completely changed. I honestly wanted to be a carefree pirate with Buggy. He says, still, Elbath, there are some things I like to know. Scopper says, understandable. You were a child of destiny, but let's not dwell on you were, exactly. Something's going on, that's plural. You were a child of destiny. Because if he's a child of destiny, he is a child of destiny. You were a child of destiny. But let's not dwell on tricky topics today, Shanks. Say, remember Little Garden, the island where we met Dory and Bragi? Shanks says, of course. Gerd pops up and says, oh no, that's not Gerd. That's Scopper's chick, whatever her name is. I forget her name. She pops up and says, "Hot enough, your son." Shanks says, "Whoa, you scared me." Scopper says, "It's great, Ripley. Thanks." Okay, that's Ripley. Yeah, I don't really care what they're talking about. So going back to Shanks and Caban, they're by themselves now. They're talking again. Caban says, "Do you know Harold? He's the king of Elbaf. The people think of him like a god." Shanks says, "Yeah, I met him at Mary Jawas. We got along all right." Shanks says, "We couldn't speak freely in the Holy Land. Now that we're both in this country, I really want to talk to him before it's too late." So then we cut back to the day the massacre at the castle took place. Elbath's most beloved king, Harold, and the benevolent loss of his life. Somebody screams, "What's this? Let us out. Who closed the gates?" We see the sword going through Elder Jaruo's head, blood splattering. We see a silhouette figure break a lock off of a box, a chest, and they say this is the forbidden devil fruit passed down within Elbath. And then we get a little dialogue bubble that says, "But just how did this man come to be so highly regarded by his people?" So now they finna take us back even more because they just said those little other dialogue bubbles. If I'm not counting all the slaughtering and King Harold getting this muffin cap peeled back, it says the day the massacre at the castle took place, Elbaf's most beloved king, Harold the Benevolent, lost his life. But just how did this man come to be so highly regarded by his people? A long time ago, 109 years before the present day, if you ask anyone what's the scariest thing on the sea is, the answer will be always the same. The giant warrior pirates. That was how things were in that era. In that age, even ships from the land of giants evoked immense fear due to Elbas's reputation. He was one of the reasons for said reputation. Remarkably rough. Remarkably what rough. Remarkably enough was pure scum. Funny. Ha ha ha. Anyway, Harold began his reign at 45 years of age, just 15 in human terms, despite this King Harold, even at that age, even ships from the land of giants, whatever. Okay, I read all that. So, as all of that dialogue was going on, we see a flashback of the giant pirates, Dorian, Bragi, and their crew. And we see Harold stomping somebody out into a castle. Says, "Whoops, my foot slipped." This is a 45 slash 14, 15-year-old Harold. "Your Majesty, please stop this." He looks kind of like Gecko Moria. He looked like a combination of Gecko Moria and Kaido. And then we get End. Okay. So that was a good chapter. Not gonna hold it. Pretty decent. I'm not gonna give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10. We'll give it like a 6 out of 10 because we got some pretty good lore F drops. You feel me? We got what was the first one we got? I found out Zoro got Well, we found out Zoro didn't know he got Conqueror's Haki, but he knows now. So now Zoro's aware that he has Conqueror Haki. We can see how he turned up in the future. Um, we get the information drop that damn, it was a couple of information drops. I'm trying not to go back through. Oh yeah, the Holy Knights, they are not immortal, so Conqueror's Haki can't affect them. And it doesn't have to be some type of advanced Conqueror's Haki neither. Just Conqueror's Haki and being able to use it and control it can hurt them. If you can embed your attacks with Conqueror's Haki, then you can hurt them. Um, we found out that Loki has fought the Holy Knights before, and it was probably during that flashback, the part we didn't get to see. But yeah, he scrapped with the Holy Knights before. Um, Shanks. Scopper said that Shanks, he said you were the child of prophecy. He didn't say you are the child of prophecy. He said you were the child of prophecy. That's past tense. So does that mean Shanks did what he was supposed to do as far as his role in the prophecy already and it's been fulfilled? Or does that mean his birthright was taken from him? In other words, was it his job to prophecy wise to get that fruit to the person who would then become the reincarnation of Nika Joy Boy, the warrior of liberation? Or was Shanks originally to be that person himself? But Luffy eating the fruit fucked everything up and damn near destroyed the whole purpose of his mission. Because that would be so fucked up. He said it himself. All he wanted to do was just be a carefree pirate with Buggy. Now imagine not doing that and going that whole time, doing everything you was doing, going after that fruit, you feel me, to make sure you was the one who got it, preparing yourself for that time, getting stronger, you feel me, learning about the world, just at the end of the day to have somebody take that birthright away from you. Everything you've been preparing yourself to do to have them take it. That'd be a crazy story. But let's see, I don't think it said no breaks next week, so I'll see you guys next week. We'll get deeper into the story and figure out what's going on. Y'all go watch some theory videos. I know I am, cause I've been avoiding YouTube all week. Now I'm finna get loose. It's Who's Who 74. You guys have a good day. See you next